His manager told him he wasn't allowed to resign, told him he couldn't leave until a replacement was found, until he was in a better mood. So the employee said nothing, did nothing, and waited, and on his very last day, he walked out the door without saying a single word. This is the story of the most satisfying resignation in internet history. Our guy had been working at his company for a while on a fixed-term contract. Now, for anyone who doesn't know what that means, a fixed-term contract has a set end date built in. The job legally ends on a specific day whether anyone likes it or not. When the time came, he did the professional thing. He wrote up a resignation letter and handed it to his manager. And that's where things went sideways, because this manager, freshly promoted, full of himself, intoxicated on his new tiny slice of corporate power, refused to sign it. Didn't just delay it, didn't say he'd look into it. He point blank refused, looked our guy in the eye and told him he was not permitted to resign until a replacement had been hired and trained. And this is the part that tells you everything about this man. He added that he would only acknowledge the resignation once he was in a, quote, better mood. A better mood. This man genuinely believed he had the power to hold another human being in a job by just being in a bad mood indefinitely. Now, here's where most people would panic. Most people would go to HR, fire off emails, escalate, stress themselves into the ground trying to force this man to sign a piece of paper. But our guy, he thought about it, looked at his contract, looked at the end date, and smiled, because he realized something this manager had completely failed to understand. He didn't need anyone's permission to leave. His contract had a fixed end date. It wasn't a resignation, it was an expiry, like milk. When the date comes, it's just done. No signature required, no mood check needed, no replacement necessary. The manager's little power move was completely and utterly irrelevant. So, what did our guy do with this information? Absolutely nothing. He went back to his desk, carried on working normally, didn't say a word, didn't correct the manager, didn't hint that anything was coming. He just waited. Every day, the manager strutted around the office thinking he'd won, thinking he'd successfully trapped an employee, probably already planning how long he'd drag this out. Meanwhile, our guy was just quietly counting down the days, and then the final day arrived. Our guy came in, did his work, said his goodbyes to the colleagues he actually liked, and at the end of the day, as he packed up his desk and headed for the door, the manager clocked what was happening. Where are you going? Home. It's the end of my contract. You haven't been given permission to resign. I didn't resign. My contract ended. Tonight. As it was always going to. There was nothing the manager could do. No legal threat. No HR escalation. The company had zero leverage. The contract was over. Our guy was already gone. The manager apparently went to HR anyway, desperately trying to find some way to hold him accountable. HR told him exactly what you would expect. There was nothing to be done. The employee had complied with every single rule, done everything by the book, and in doing so, completely dismantled a petty little power trip without saying a single unnecessary word. And that right there is how you deal with a manager who thinks his mood is your problem. You don't argue, you don't escalate, you just know your rights, and you let them embarrass themselves. Was this the most satisfying workplace exit you've ever heard? Drop your verdict in the comments, and if you've got a story that tops this, Real Receipts wants to hear it. Subscribe so you never miss a receipt.